mentioned last week that, part of the reason why Skylar had a tough time was not taking the starter reps and not working with the first team. How much of a problem was that today for Teddy, having just cleared concussion protocol on Saturday?
I think the obvious answer is that it does make it more difficult. But I don't think Teddy nor any, my expectation, I know Teddy won't, and my expectation for the team is that you don't take that easy out.
Man, the toughest part about this kind of situation is it's similar to last week, man, what happened with Skylar. I got an opportunity to just prepare mindset as I'm the starter this week, get all the reps in practice, and then boom, I went down first play. Skylar had to get in there and just run plays that he didn't really rep physically. He had to do a lot of mental reps. And it was the same today for me. Limited reps, but, it's an offense that I know.
Teddy says he had limited reps, but that this is an offense that he knows. So, Teddy, which is it? You either know the offense or you don't. But you know what? I'm going to reserve judgment. Despite what Mike McDaniel said, his QB2 says it is impacting him not getting the reps. So I'm going to have to believe the other QBs feel it as well. Since we know it's obviously a big factor, how about planning for it in advance? It's a new NFL. We have to accept it. The coaches have to accept it. The players have to accept it. This concussion protocol thing has made things completely out of whack. So you're going to have to plan for it. You're going to have to split the reps in practice and make sure that all the QBs on the roster are ready to play on any given Sunday. In 3 games in a row, the starting Miami Dolphins quarterback was not the quarterback who finished the game. At this point, the McDaniel coaching staff has to admit this and begin preparing for inevitably another quarterback going down. These new rules now mandate a change in the way NFL coaches basically manage their games.
We can't get that one back, but we can get the next one. Just got to get our minds right, learn from today, come to work tomorrow, watch the tape, see what we did well, see what we didn't do so well, correct those things so that we can turn this thing around. You watch, as the game continued to go on, the defense continued to fight, offensive guys continued to fight as the game went on, and things just didn't work out for us, but we still got more work to do.
You think? Talk about understatements. The kind of work that the Dolphins are going to have to do isn't going to be fixed in a week. At this point in the season, the management of the team and the coaching staff have to acknowledge that plugging playing players in any position is not going to work on the offensive line. They have the wrong players for the offensive line. They're not going to get any different. Hopefully Teron Armstead comes back, but it's only going to get worse if somebody else goes down.
Man, it could have been better. Missed a couple throws, Jalen on a crosser, the pass before the interception, before the half. If I hit Jalen in stride, who knows? He's one-on-one with the safety. He might make a miss and run. But it was a low ball on his hip, had to go to the ground. So, I want to be perfect, when I'm out there. And no one's ever played a perfect game. But, we take pride in just being accurate as a quarterback room, as a team. I take pride in being accurate, just as a quarterback. So, obviously, yeah, the numbers say whatever, but trust me, there are some things that some throws I would like to have back, some ball placement things, intentional grounding, and probably just trying to do too much.
I like the fact that Teddy Bridgewater acknowledged that he made some mistakes. He must have been looking on the iPad or the Surface in between series and talking to the other QBs, probably Tua, and he realized, wow, I really screwed that up. I like that in a player. I really think he stunk the joint up this Sunday, but with the crap offensive line that the Dolphins have, we have to reserve judgment on Teddy Bridgewater. I can't imagine what it's like to play behind an offensive line that bad at the professional level. There were a couple plays where guys came in completely unblocked. As Teddy got the ball from the snap, these guys were already on him. That's unforgivable. These quarterbacks are in danger behind this offensive line. McDaniel and the staff have to make adjustments. Bring in a blocking tight end, keep Alec Ingold in, do something to protect these quarterbacks, or they're going to be hurt throughout the season. No one's going to be trading for Teddy Bridgewater, so we're pretty much stuck with him. So we might as well support him and get him the help up front, just the same help that Tua is going to need. You have to play the cards that have been dealt to you. Right now, we've seen a lot of injuries. We've seen a lot of mistakes. And McDaniel, this is on you to make a bunch of changes. The coaching staff needs to work with Teddy Bridgewater on his mechanics, especially in this style of offense. He's not Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. He's not even Skyler. He's not going to be running the ball downfield 15 and 20 yards. So you're going to have to adapt this offensive scheme to work within the realm of what Teddy Bridgewater can do. Like Tua Tagovailoa, Teddy Bridgewater needs protection in order to succeed. And Mike McDaniel, again, that's on you.
Man, your pop-up game got to be elite. You get hit, you got to pop right up these days. And I've always been a guy who, takes his time getting up, mad that I might have gotten hit, slapped the ground, frustrated, and then, okay, next play. But can't do that anymore. So today, man, I was just popping up, just so it wouldn't happen to me again.
Imagine you're an NFL quarterback being brought into a team where there's a new head coach, a huge innovative playbook that you have to learn. And you've been in and out of games because of your offensive line and because of injuries. And now you have to stay conscious of what spotters are going to interpret based upon your reaction on the field. You know what happens when players focus on trying not to get hurt? You guessed it. It makes them vulnerable to getting hurt. When you're playing a game and you're conscious of the fact that some guy with binoculars is up in a booth watching your every move, you're going to be susceptible to injury. You're not focused on the game. You're worried about what this guy up in the booth is going to think about how you fell and got up. These new rules that the NFL put in are total bullshit, and they're going to cause quarterbacks to get injured. You think I'm lying? Well, when you drive home tonight, instead of focusing on the road and doing it from muscle memory, start looking at every car, wondering if they're going to run into you, and tell me if your driving doesn't get altered on the way home. A lot of being an NFL player is existing based on muscle memory and instinct. And now you're telling a player not to focus on that instinct, but instead worry about what the spotter's going to think when you get up. I'm telling you right now, that's going to cause injury. And you just heard Teddy talk about that. No player should have to wonder what someone up in a booth is looking at, depending on how they decide to stand up after a hit.
And these young guys like Jalen, where every play you're getting 1,000% from him. So when he fumbles on a play like that, yeah, you're mad, because of when it happened, when it occurred in the game. But, man, if you look at it, he caught the ball, he ran, made a guy miss, and the guy made a great play getting the ball out. But he was straining, and we always talk about straining. And he was straining, just to try to get to the end zone. Like, these guys, man, they strain so much. Every time the ball is in their hand, they're trying to just maximize every play, every rep. And I just love it. So, man, we'll look at it like, oh, man, we can't fumble in that situation. But, I'm just happy to see that strain in him.
A lot of people on Twitter were actually blaming Jalen Waddle for the loss. Yeah, they actually were, and some of them were Dolphin fans. Why not just go ahead and delete your account right now? That tells me you don't know football. You're perpetrating a fraud on the people who end up watching your videos or looking at your tweets. Jalen Waddle is a playmaker, period. He was trying to make a play. Like Deion Sanders has always said, somebody is going to make a play. Is it going to be you or the other guy? So in this particular instance, a guy came up from behind and stripped him of the football. But you can't blame Jalen Waddle for losing the game. That's completely idiotic. Enough said.
It's disappointing. Guys put a lot into this game. I was very happy with our preparation during the week. And so, I thought we took a step forward in that way. I think the direct result was you saw a team ready to play in the first half. Now I have to look at the tape. I don't want to jump to complete conclusions and be result-oriented, but we were all there knew it was the flag fest. I was surprised. I think we've been, last week we were up in the numbers and penalties. We'd started the season off pretty good in that regard, and they kind of piled up, definitely hurt us. Turnovers hurt us. And, overall, the tightness of the ship, which, that's what the head coach is there for. So you take that square in the eyes, and you let the guys know that you're going to bring a better effort next week.
It's obvious at this point that the Dolphins keep beating themselves. Everybody can see that. Before every one of my games when I played, one of my coaches would stand up, we all knew it was coming, and he'd say, don't beat yourself. The worst opponent you're going to face today is you. Then you make sure not to beat yourself. You don't commit penalties. You don't commit turnovers. You don't make stupid mistakes. That's what the Dolphins are doing right now. Allow me to illustrate so I can tell you what I mean. In this past game, the Dolphins gave up 6 sacks. 6 sacks. The Dolphins had 2 interceptions. The Dolphins gave away 2 fumbles, and they gave up nearly 100 yards on 10 penalties. On the season, the Dolphins have been flagged 43 times and have given up 331 penalty yards. I like what Mike said. He realizes that's on him. He's got to do whatever he needs to do to instill some serious discipline on his team. But a lot of this lack of discipline is born of desperation and frustration. These guys need to just take a step back, breathe deep, understand the immense adversity they've been against, and stop trying to do too much.
The number one indicator in winning wins and losses has been and forever always will be turnovers. So when you're -3, you got to be pretty epic in other ways to try to come out on top.
This is critical, and it's why I never make a prediction going into a game. It's a complete waste of time. I chuckle when I see people make predictions. I guess it's fun, but to me, it's a waste of time and means nothing. Here's why. You can't predict penalties. You can't predict interceptions. You can't predict fumbles. And most of all, as the Dolphins have unfortunately found out time and time again, you can't predict injuries. Every single one of those things substantially impacts the outcome of a football game, and none of them can be predicted. And right now, the Dolphins simply are not good enough to overcome this kind of adversity, especially self-inflicted adversity. Good teams don't beat themselves. The good news that came out of the Vikings game is that the defense seems to have arrived. I actually called Jalen Phillips' name a couple of times during the game. Love to see that. The defense finally stepped up. And the defense should be able to keep this level of performance up for quite some time. The first 6 games, the Dolphins had arguably the toughest schedule in the NFL. The rest of the way, they're like towards the bottom. They have one of the weakest schedules in the NFL. I think it's like 22 or 23. So the defense right now can really turn and begin dominating, should dominate the upcoming opponents, starting this Sunday with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talk to you soon. Fins up.
Is anybody catching on to this Barry guy?